Little Emma had always been a model student, never stepping a foot out of line. So when she was suddenly called into the principal's and handed a suspension letter, if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. As she was being escorted out, Emma turned to the principal with fury in her eyes and uttered a question that made everyone's heart skip a beat. "Do you know who I am?" she asked. Principal James pretended to not have heard her, and he turned around wanting to retreat into his office and close the door behind him. Who was this girl? One of the teachers, Miss Clara, quickly entered the principal's office and closed the door behind her. "Eric, what was that? Who is that girl?" she whispered, completely caught off guard by what had just happened. "That's what I'm going to find out now," he muttered, as he looked through one of his drawers. Here it is," he said, as he finally found the file he was looking for. A list of all the students currently enrolled in their school. "Let's see Emma in 4th grade," he mumbled as he scanned the list and looked for her name. Yes, Emma Richardson. That doesn't really ring a bell, does it? Do you know anyone else named Daniels? He asked his colleague. To his disappointment, Clara shook her head. Well, maybe it's nothing. You know how kids can be sometimes. Perhaps she was joking or talking nonsense, or maybe she was just angry for getting suspended, she mused. You're probably right, Clara. Principal Eric had already forgotten about a whole incident by the end of the day. A few hours later, he went home feeling satisfied, but sadly, this wasn't going to be the end of it. When Eric arrived at school the next day, he entered his office unsuspectingly and planned to get a lot of work done that day. However, once he sat down at his desk, he noticed the note. At first, he thought it had to be a message from his secretary or another teacher, but when he opened it, he turned pale. This wasn't good. This note could only be Emma's. It said, "You will pay for what you've done." Later that day, during lunch break, someone knocked on his office. "Come in," he said, and as he looked up, he saw that it was Teacher Clara. "Eric, there's something I think you should know." She said, "Well, what is it?" He asked, immediately worried by the silence that followed. "I'm not sure if it has anything to do with what happened yesterday. For all we know, it could just be a really weird coincidence, but well, Emma didn't show up in school today. She hasn't been in class, and nobody has heard from her or her parents." Principal Eric turned pale upon hearing this. "Have you tried contacting her parents? We have their numbers, right?" he asked. But Clara shook her head. "We only have her father's number, and we tried calling him several times, but he isn't picking up his phone," she replied. Eric closed his eyes and held his head in his hands as he thought to himself, "This is a disaster." He really wanted to talk to his wife, Sandra, about this. She always knew what to say to calm him down. At dinner, Eric grappled with his decision over Emma's suspension, a topic that dominated the conversation. His wife, Sandra, tried to offer reassurance, gently reminding him of his responsibility as a principal. Their daughter Lucy chimed in, suggesting that there might be hidden reasons behind Emma's actions. The discussion left Eric riddled with doubts, pondering the complexities of his role in Emma's behavior. Along in his study, Eric sat surrounded by his many commendations, each a testament to his dedication. Returning to school, Eric immediately sensed an unsettling change in the atmosphere. Whispered rumors about Emma's suspension seemed to permeate every corner, creating a palpable tension. The growing unease and misunderstood standing among the school community weighed heavily on him, highlighting the challenges and responsibilities of his position as a principal. Eric called for a staff meeting during the morning break. Standing before his team, he looked each teacher in the eye, attempting to project a sense of calm authority. "I know there are rumors circulating about Emma's suspension." He began, his voice steady. "It's important that we stay united as a staff and focus on the well-being of all our students." As the teachers slowly dispersed, their whispers filled the room. Echoing Eric's own doubt, he stood there, pondering, his mind racing with questions. Had his decision been just? Was there more to Emma's story? Later, Miss Clara approached Eric with Emma's recent project in hand. "There's something here that you need to see," she said, her voice low and serious. The project subtly hinted at a significant and complex family. However, Eric, preoccupied with the day's events and the weight of his responsibilities, overlooked the deeper implications, missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. Back in his office, Eric closely examined Emma's project. It was outstanding in its execution, yet he felt an undercurrent of something more. Something he couldn't quite grasp. The name Richardson stood out to him, yet failed to trigger any recognition. Eric received a formal meeting request from the school board, a development that filled him with anxiety. The news of Emma's suspension had reached their ears, and they demanded clarity on the matter. Tasked by the board to compile a comprehensive report on the incident, Eric delved into Emma's school records and the events leading to her suspension. This conflict left him pondering the accuracy and fairness of his decision. Further examination of Emma's records revealed a consistent history of academic excellence and commendable behavior. This portrayal starkly contrasted with the girl who defiantly stood in his office. The growing discrepancy between her past and present left Eric questioning the validity of his decision more than ever. Was he ever going to find the answers? Mention issue quickly snowballed as parents began openly challenging the school's disciplinary methods. Eric's inbox and phone were flooded with messages from ConcernAid and upset parents. The local media soon let shed onto the story, bringing an unforeseen level of attention to the school. The relentless pressure began to visibly affect Eric. Emma's return to school marked a significant moment, accompanied by her father, a man with a commanding presence. Her demeanor was calm yet distant. Her father's immediate request for a meeting with Eric, coupled with his stern and unyielding expression, added a new layer of apprehension for Eric, who was already grappling with the ongoing turmoil. In the meeting, Emma's father was terse and direct. His warning to Eric about the far-reaching implications of his actions carried an undercurrent of displeasure and veiled threats. Eric listened intently, a sense of unease growing within him. The encounter with Emma's father left Eric deeply unsettled. What had the girl's father been talking about? Alone in his office, Eric mulled over the father's enigmatic words. As the day progressed, Eric began piecing together the fragmented information about Emma and her family. It was a story that Eric was only just beginning to unravel, one that extended beyond the confines of the school and into realms he had not anticipated. In the tense atmosphere of the board meeting, Eric staunchly defended his decision to suspend Emma. The board members, with their expressions, a mix of concern and skepticism, listened intently. A board member's casual mention of knowing Emma's mother called off guard during the meeting. The mention of Emma's mother set off a rapid chain of thoughts in Eric's mind. He began to connect of information he had gathered, each piece bringing him closer to an important revelation. The board meeting continued. Eric slowly came to a startling realization about Emma's mother. This revelation altered his entire perspective, bringing to light the significance of Emma's family in the unfolding drama he had never expected. Post-meeting, Eric grappled with the weight of his previous ignorance. Not understanding Emma's family background had led to a significant misjudgment. How is this going to end? After the meeting, Eric delved into a discreet investigation into Emma's family. The truth he uncovered was startling. Emma's mother was a figure of considerable political stature. This revelation cast the entire suspension episode in a new light, making Eric question the very basis of his decision-making process and the assumptions he had held. Realizing the political influence of Emma's mother reframed the entire incident for Eric. He found himself wrestling with about Emma's family had inadvertently steered him into a complex situation with potential repercussions he hadn't foreseen. Reflecting on Emma's earlier words, "Do you know who I am?" Eric now grasped their full significance. Her question was not merely a rebellious retort. It was laden with the influence and implications of her family's status. Facing the press, Eric took a deep breath, his voice steady yet tinged with regret. "Today, I publicly apologize to Emma Richardson and her family," he began. As cameras captured this moment, he acknowledged his oversight in handling Emma's suspension and the resultant turmoil. His sincere remorse was evident, marking a pivotal moment of acknowledgement and responsibility in his career. Eric spoke candidly about the lessons he had learned. This incident has highlighted the perils of prejudice and the necessity for deeper understanding within our school community, he admitted. Eric's appeal for understanding and respect within the school community was heartfelt, which must know and respect every member of our community regardless of their background, he emphasized. In the solitude of his office, Eric pondered over the entire situation. The incident had profoundly impacted him, reshaping his professional and personal perspectives. In a meeting with Emma and her mother, the initial tension gave way to a shared desire for understanding. Eric listened attentively, recognizing the significance of this dialogue and fostering healing and progress. This meeting was a crucial step towards reconciliation, and a deeper expressed a simple wish for Emma to be treated as any other student unaffected by her political stature. Her words highlighted a mother's desire for normal in her child's life, a desire that had become tangled in the recent misunderstandings, adding layers to the complex situation. Emma's gentle words of forgiveness marked a turning point in the conversation. The discussion that ensued revolved around mutual respect and the importance of understanding each individual's unique circumstances. Eric felt deeply relieved and thankful for Emma's forgiveness and her mature insights, which highlighted the need for empathy and respect in educational settings. The meeting served as a catalyst in unraveling the web of misunderstandings. Eric committed to better knowing his students and their backgrounds, a vow welcomed by Emma and her mother. This conversation concluded with a sense of resolution and a shared goal of fostering a more empathetic and connected school environment. Post-meeting, Eric reflected on the entire experience. He realized the importance of understanding and respecting each student's unique story. This incident had profoundly altered his perspective on leadership and the diverse experiences within his school community, ushering in a newfound commitment to inclusivity and understanding in his approach to education.